Hello, YouTube. Welcome into another part of our One More Marathon. These part zeros are to help you understand the abilities of a leader and possible strategies therein. Today we're talking about Gorgo, one of the Greek leaders, one of the original kind of powerful leaders in my opinion. Really one of the leaders that turned me on to the power of unique districts and the half-cost districts. The Acropolis is quite good. We'll get to it in a second. Let's start with Thermopylae. The combat victories provide culture equal to 50% of the combat strength of the defeated unit on standard speed. What this allows you to do is farm some early culture, whether you're warring your neighbors, warring a city-state, or just clearing some barbarians, possibly from barbarian mode where they spawn out of control and have a lot of culture potential. This allows you to drive early policy changes. It allows you to just get to your first major government, slot in oligarchy and things like that. One of the recent changes from the most recent balance patch was adding this extra combat strength for every military policy, in addition to having an extra wildcard policy. Remember that you can put a military policy in a wildcard slot and you will get the extra combat strength here, which is quite good. But this is solid early game, and so is this, not to mention the wildcard policy slot. So this was one of the things that was done in an effort to make the Hoplite a little bit more viable as a unique unit. We'll talk about those changes in just a minute, but it's a great way to start your ability. It makes her a little bit more war focused than Pericles, even though I think Pericles' upside is maybe a little bit higher in terms of late game production, but you could just war all game long with her and feed off of that culture. One of the nice things to do with with killing units early is have multiple policy switches in a turn. You can switch into a policy, kill some units, and get enough culture to switch into another one. If you're willing to micromanage some early policy stuff, it can be really cool, really fun. Plato's Republic is insane. You start with an extra wildcard policy slot in each government. It allows you to work all three of your initial policy cards, as well as just have extra flexibility when switching policies early. Get an extra production, as well as settler stuff or builder stuff or whatever it is you're doing. This is an insanely strong ability. It's basically like starting with a wonder. The Hoplite is an ancient era anti-cav unit that replaces the Spearman, 10 combat strength if there's at least one extra adjacent Hoplite unit. So in addition to one of the drawbacks of the Hoplite is it never works with a great general. Generals work on classic and medieval, the first one does, and this is an ancient era unit. So in terms of rushing to an encampment and then starting a Hoplite rush, not really what you want to do. You basically want to get your Hoplite rush going and then get to your next bigger government so that you can slot in, get the 4 combat strengths from oligarchy and slot in more military policy cards. But at that point, we were kind of doing some of the loosey-goosey math, and you can get up to around 46 combat strength with Hoplites, which is very impressive. Remember that a standard horse and swordsman are 36 base. Now with some of the same bonuses, they go up too. But basically, if you're going to do Hoplites early, especially on Deity, you need to follow them up with some other units. So be prepared to do that. It's a lot better than it used to. Anti-cav used to get minus 10 combat strength versus melee. It's minus 5 now. That's a pretty significant bonus. And then this also specifically got buffed in the last most balanced patch that did this as well. And it has 3 extra combat strength, so it's 28 instead of 25, which it used to be. So it's a fine unit. It's quite nice to have access to early era score and early combat strength, depending on what you're doing. Can be quite defensive against barb horsemen and stuff like that. It can be a very impressive unit. You should do them, but just be prepared that if you want to dominate your neighbor with it, you should probably follow it up with some other units. The Acropolis is incredible. This is our Greek theater square replacement, half cost as it is a unique unit, and gives you an envoy when completed. In addition to that, we get 1 extra culture for each adjacent district as opposed to every 2 adjacent districts, and an additional 1 culture for adjacent city center. So if you just place this next to your city center, it's +2, and then it can get even better from there. So you just kind of build your districts around it, kind of like Poland wants to do their holy sites and things like that. 2 extra culture for adjacent wonder. That's typical theater square stuff, entertainment complex, water parks, etc. Can only be built on hills. So you do need to settle your cities with this in mind, and settle cities with an adjacent hill with a plan to put an Acropolis on it. Oftentimes we don't like to override all the hills in a city because you're still looking for that production, although balancing it is obviously a key. But this is an incredibly powerful district. The extra envoys are amazing. It's half cost. You get that culture rolling right away. You get additional culture here. You can drive a space race with culture. You can drive any kind of game you want with culture. So really that leads you to a place where domination makes sense, culture victories make sense, You could do a Warlord's Throne inspired space race where you're taking cities, getting extra culture and getting that production bonus to feed space race projects and stuff. Lots of cool stuff you can do with Gorgo. She is sort of well suited to zombie defense mode because this just adds in a slew of extra units, and you can kind of feed off of them. Probably not going to play with that for this game. I don't love this particular mode. We're probably looking at Barbarian Clans, Heroes and Legends, and Monopolies just for the funsies. Don't know exactly what the win con will be, but it should be a good time regardless. And enjoy Gorgo. She was one of my original favorite civs for sure, and she remains a very, very powerful one. The wildcard policy slot allows you so much flexibility in the early game. All of it's so good. Enjoy Gorgo. She's incredible. You're incredible. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to stop by twitch.tv/thegamemechanic and join us live in person on the internet. We'll see you then.